Good evening. Tonight, our entire show tonight is a dedicated post-game show for the International Space Development Conference. Just ended yesterday in Orlando. We all had some wild experiences, a little PTSD, a lot of hope for our future, and even one casualty coming up. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. Okay, as you know, this program is brought to you from the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do? We champion and strengthen emerging space startups, space scalable small and medium businesses, and space adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy across the funding spectrum. Our programs fortify business plans and investor readiness for founding teams at various levels of development. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you really love us, and I hope you do, go to the QR code at the upper left of the screen. It will take you to our donation portal and keep helping us out. A little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Thanks in advance. Joining me now remotely, not from his usual place, is my best space buddy, Michael Lane from Liftport. Come on in, man. There he is. Yes. I can see half of you not so well, and the other half of you really too well. So this is great. This is it's like a Harlequin or something here.
Right. Yeah. Hey, what'd you think about ISDC? I'm at my mom's. It's mildly chaotic here. I just came back from the glamorous life of Florida, and then now the mundane of making sure the animals are taken care of while my mom is traveling. So
yeah,
this is where I am today.
You're the local hero today, man. That's all good.
That's how
I think most of what I did today after I went to the chiropractor was sleep. I just was so exhausted after 4 days of that. You don't sleep. You don't even when you're trying to sleep, your brain is racing, and
what's going on.
Yeah, you go to bed at midnight, you get up at 4:30, and we start again.
Yeah,
that's
not an exaggeration. That for folks that haven't really, and we're going to get into this in a minute, but for folks that haven't been to these sorts of events, a couple times a year, this industry gets together at some key places, right? IAC is one of them that travels around the world. Symposium, always in Colorado Springs for the last 50 years. IAC, Space Frontier Foundation, used to be Space Access, not so much anymore. New one, Earthlight, the Space Cowboy Ball. Like, there's a couple of them that this industry really flocks to, and it's a lot of fun. And so it's not an exaggeration to say, we're working 10, 12, 14-hour days. I typically don't work 16-hour days. I'm just going to share that. But you work hard. Yeah.
Well, for me, I had specific plans. I had specific people I needed to see, specific things I wanted to do. And I got it all done and a whole lot more. So we'll be talking about that later. How about some news?
What's that?
How about some news to get us going?
Let's get some news in. What do you want?
I had a little bit. There's one thing that's kind of off topic, but I had to throw it in there because it's something I've been working on. And it's so funny because it's about, it was a few days ago. Apparently, Disney Universal has launched a major studio lawsuit against an AI company.
What is that about?
For copyright violation. It's if Disney and Universal filed copyright infringement lawsuit against the AI company Midjourney. They called the image generator a bottomless pit of plagiarism. Now, I think it's funny because I'm studying on how to use Midjourney right now.
Right? Yeah. right?
right now. I've been taking this 30-day program to learn a whole bunch, as much as I can fit in about AI, figure out which ones I want to use. There's a bunch of them out there. I'm going through a little tutorial for Midjourney right this second. I read that. I go, hey, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
That taught me, God, if I finish this course, I have to be really careful because Midjourney will just steal stuff and it won't be my fault. You
Yeah.
know, they could come after me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bottomless pit of plagiarism.
Yeah.
That's a terrific one. But it's true, right? Like a couple,
Yes.
I don't know, was it a month ago or so? The Ghibli Studios was basically overrun by stuff. Wow, I'm just gonna put a little segue in here. The chat button is suspiciously close to the end stream button on my screen.
Uh-oh.
I seriously almost just turned off this segment.
And I would have been there going, we seem to have mysteriously lost contact with Michael Lane. I'm sure.
Right. No, it wouldn't be just Michael Lane. It's the whole show would just be over because they're a centimeter apart.
Oh, okay.
From,
right.
That is bad UI. That's not, again, my normal system. Yeah, so like, okay, I kind of agree with Disney on this.
Yeah.
That's a rare thing that I'm gonna agree there, but bottomless pit of plagiarism. I know teachers that have quit the profession, 29 years of being a teacher, and they're like, I'm done. These kids don't know what reality is, and I'm tired of force feeding it on them.
Well, that, and and some of these colleges now, the kids are all writing their term papers using Chat GPT. They're not learning anything. They're not doing the work themselves. So, and of course, the poor professors can't tell the difference most days.
Nope.
Whether it's live or Memorex. And so, oh man, this I can see, however, where this would be a good test case. There's going to be, because I mean the potential for abuse is just legion on all this AI stuff.
Right.
And so to have a test case right out front and try to lock this stuff down before it gets out of everyone's hands, and no new content will basically be generated because no one can ever get paid.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, the teacher that I'm describing, she teaches sixth graders. I know another teacher who also teaches sixth graders, and they're like, look, these kids are really good at mastering these tools, and it's for a sixth grader to use certain words, it's a dead giveaway that they're cheating, right?
Yeah.
Separately, not related to space community, there's a company called Cluely who just got $15 million from Andreessen Horowitz. And their motto is how to cheat at everything.
Oh, okay.
That's
all right.
They're
all
like,
right.
use AI for every app.
Yeah. Well, you never know when that skill might come in handy. The world goes to hell. You gotta stay alive. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Who knows what's going to happen in the near future? Oh God! But I got in trouble when I was a kid. That was before computers even, because I used to use big words that were way above my grade level.
Yeah.
They were saying, "Where did you get that?" Oh, I just learned it.
Right.
I was a very bright kid. I was way up there, and so.
So our producer Sean has got a comment in here, says AI is being demonized like books, radio, and TV were. Yeah, they were. There was all sorts of guardrails around television that I know of. Comic books, oh my God, those were the gateway drugs to the devil from some people's perspective. But I don't think this is the same, right? I don't think this is the same. Like, maybe it's because of where we are now, but we know that television is entertainment. But there's already starting to be studies about cognitive decline based on AI use. And these teachers, I haven't seen it because I'm not around those kind of folks. Um, yeah, a glorified digital library with a filter. I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, well, for me, I see it. I mean, the way it's developing and the way it's getting out there and how folks are using it. I mean, Morty's asking us, is it a tool? Is it just used for cheating? Look, it's a tool,
right?
but it's a tool like, my 357. It's something that can only be used for good or evil, and
Right.
that choice is left up to the individual. So you need to develop your own moral and ethical sense, or if you don't, AI will, if you're a psychopath, you're going to find an AI that will help you continue to be a psychopath on steroids.
Yeah.
If you're a good person, you want to do good things, and you'll find an AI that can help you do that. And hopefully, the good stuff will outnumber the bad, and it'll help us all develop our own personal filters to things in the end, which we should be doing anyway. I never agreed with censorship of social media or anything ever, even in the worst of times.
Right.
And so we're supposed to have our First Amendment, and now we've taken it to a whole new level, and we're just going to have to see what shakes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm quoted in the book that they promised me it's not based after me. It's yet another story of the space elevator guy who builds a space elevator. It gets sabotaged. It comes down and drops on Quito, Ecuador. By the way, that's bad physics. It won't fall that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it kills 10 million people, and so we've moved beyond the death penalty. But they banish the space elevator guy, I think, to Mercury, and that's his penance. And I'm in the book. They use a phrase that I'm a little bit famous for, which is you can use a hammer to build a house or to crush a skull.
Yep.
Right.
That's true.
And that's it. That's the tech.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's move away from Disney, although kind of fascinating idea. I kind of support it. I do. They have. I don't know what the market cap of Journey is. Disney is versus like Open AI, but Disney has 100 years worth of intellectual property. They are right to want to defend that.
Oh, absolutely. This is something from a week ago.
Yeah.
But I just want to throw it out there because it's about Planet Labs. They got another gig. It's a pretty big one, and they're partnering with NATO, no less, all of NATO, to boost their global surveillance and early warning capability. So I thought that's a 7-figure deal. It's designed to reinforce the alliance's ability to respond swiftly to global developments. And so,
I'm a big fan of Planet Labs. I think I've said that many, many times. I'll continue to say it. I really love these guys.
Well, I guess their goal, NATO's goal in all this, is to move from a reactive target-based intelligence gathering, which is what all of us have been doing for decades, to a more proactive model using anomaly detection across wide areas. That's going to be tricky, but it'll be an interesting approach. See if it works.
Yeah. There's going to be more and more and more AI machine learning that's just necessary to manage this stuff. And NATO's right to be involved. Also, a big fan of NATO, by the way. They seem to be on the outs sometimes, but big fan of NATO. And so the idea that there's 11,500, 11,700 satellites in the sky. it's a necessary piece of what will ultimately be the Golden Dome.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anybody who's well positioned to be a part of the Golden Dome network, it's going to be Planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Also, something else kind of on the same path.
yeah.
Varda, just last week, Varda was in the news again. They're going to launch their fourth spacecraft soon, but we've been talking about them a lot. They're on a rideshare mission.
John is a big fan of Varda.
Oh
sure.
yeah. Well, they're debuting a new spacecraft, and they've gotten a deal apparently to do a 5-year re-entry license that actually allows unlimited landings in Australia as well. So that's pretty huge. Their W series craft is called the Winnebago, but it's 500 kilos and designed for self-contained orbital missions that usually go for weeks or months. So they have a pharmaceutical processing payload, because that's what they do mostly, is do things with pharmaceuticals, and then it's in microgravity. Apparently, they've got certain things they can make that just work better in microgravity. So they do it up there, and they bring it back, and hopefully make a bunch of money.
So Sean always talks about that as a critical element to the full spectrum, economy, right? That we need to have as useful a technology coming down as we've really perfected the technology going up.
Yeah.
Honestly, that had never really crossed my mind. So hats off to Varda, hats off to Sean. Wasn't something I'd ever really thought about, but they've really, both of them have convinced me that that's true. I don't want to steal the limelight for our ISDC retrospective, but I was in the spaceports talk. I was in the spaceports talk for most of the day, half a day, and I was really surprised. The guy who runs, I think his name is Scott McLaughlin, if I remember correctly. I don't have my notes in front of me. But the guy who runs Spaceport America out in New Mexico, he actually mentioned Varda, that they applied to deorbit at Spaceport America because they want that. Turns out Varda didn't have enough control over their landing. White Sands Missile Base, right next door to Spaceport America, that was too big a zone. They weren't gonna let anything crash land into White Sands. So Spaceport America folks tried making a relationship with ranchers in the local area. So that's an ongoing thing, and Spaceport America has applied for a re-entry license, but it has not been granted yet.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why Varda has gone to Australia, because they need a place to land it.
Right. Yeah, well, Australia's been helpful, I guess.
Yeah.
There's one thing I was going to talk about with ESA. I think I'm going to skip it because I want to get moving.
Right.
But I just wanted to mention something about Portal Space Systems. They're building a larger factory for their supernova vehicle, and I believe it's in your neighborhood.
They are next door neighbors.
In Bothell.
They're about 15 miles away from me. And I was super excited. I'm glad you brought this up. I was super excited because the Portal guy reached out to me on LinkedIn this week. Unbeknownst to me, I don't know how he even got my name, but one of the Portal guys reached out to me, and we're going to talk next week. So I don't have any idea what we're going to talk about, but I am seriously excited about talking to these folks. I'm definitely a fan. They kind of came out of nowhere. They started from zero, ramped up really fast, got government contracts. You know that what they're all about is what's called maneuver without regret, being able to maneuver on orbit rapidly, and using giant solar panels, which I don't totally understand their technology, to be completely candid. So I'm going to have to look that up before I go talk to him, because I don't want to sound stupid when I'm on a call with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Portal's a neat company.
Mm-hmm. And another interesting blurb that I found, I thought it didn't tickle me, but it just made me raise an eyebrow. Apparently, and this happened a couple of weeks ago, Chinese Long March rockets have actually made their international debut at the Paris Air Show.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
Honestly, no way. Absolutely no way. I'm not going to let anybody call me a liar. I did not see that coming. There's no way I saw that coming. Good for them.
Yeah.
Honestly, truly, good for them. That kind of pulls them into the international community. They have been on the edges of it. They haven't been kind of part of the space community for a while. Fun fact, do you know there's a lot of ISUers that are Chinese? For a while, they were the dominant nation to attend International Space University.
Yeah.
And I gotta believe, I have no proof, this is just gut intuition. I gotta believe that has influenced the Long March and going to the Paris show.
It could.
My hunch, just a hunch, but I was really kind of excited about this one. I really was. I was surprised. What do you make of it? What do you make of this?
Well, I think that, it's the Paris Air Show is the go-to event for all the players who want to really play. I think they're looking to show the world that we're players, and we're going to be. And maybe they're going to be they're looking to maybe get into the commercial side and sell some services. And so the best place to do it is to show off their stuff at the Paris Air Show.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It's a big deal.
And I know they'll be wearing nice business suits and not those old Mao costumes with the funny hats that they wore in the 60s, or like a lot of kids on my college campus wore in the 70s. I couldn't believe, I just looked at that like back then. It's like, okay, he's wearing a Mao hat, but now, looking back on it 50 years, it's like, oh man, that was so stupid. So, oh God, who are these people? I never owned one myself.
Right. You got a different kind of hat.
Yeah, I wear a different kind of hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had a leisure suit, but back in the mid 70s, those pictures have disappeared. All that part of my past has gone away.
Yeah.
And so you'll never see proof.
There's only 3 pictures of me in the Marine Corps, and my mom has all 3 of them at her house. That's it. Those are it.
And so they died with her. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
All right. I want to just talk for a moment about Isaac, man. Let's use that as our segue to jump.
That's why I put it on last, because that was from the talk he gave Saturday night.
Great minds think alike, right?
Yep.
Great minds think alike. All right. All right. So what do you have to, so let's give everybody kind of a moment of status check. This was our first question on our live show on Monday. What do you think about Isaac? That was the first topic that we had on the live show. So now we had that show, and now we've seen Isaac Man for real. Did you get to shake his hand?
Yes, I did. And he's not the first billionaire I've shaken hands with. And so I'm going to say that, hey, I'm starting a collection.
Right. Okay. How many?
Hopefully there'll be enough of them someday. But maybe something will rub off.
Right.
I'm thinking, and that'll help me somehow.
How many billionaires have you shook hands with?
Only 3.
Yeah.
And one technically was Elon Musk, but I don't think he was a billionaire yet.
I didn't.
I think I met him at the Mars Society conference in 2000.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't shake his hand then. I met him at Mars Society in 2001, and he was just another nerd in a room full of nerds.
Yep.
So
But I was there the day he decided to found SpaceX, so at least I got to witness that bit of history.
right
You
on.
know.
All right. So what do we want to say about Isaac then? I was impressed,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. He was very.
nobody
Very
talked
cool.
about anything interesting, right? Dale Scran interviewed him, and it was softball all the way. So I was kind of happy. I had met Jeff Faust just 15 minutes, probably about an hour prior to. I just described that as I just met him. I've known Faust for 25 years. I had just chatted with Faust about an hour before Isaacman went on stage. What's your? So I really liked this article because it kind of gave you a little bit more information than the Rubber Chicken Dinner gave, because I like Dale Scran, but he didn't ask any tough questions, and I'm sure he was told not to.
I'm sure it was too. I'm sure he figured that out way ahead of time.
Yeah.
Given the situation, because Isaacman was booked like 2 months, or more before the conference.
Yeah.
And so he was still on the deck.
He was booked. No, somebody told me he was booked. Dave Dressler told me he was booked before he was even nominated. Before he was, he's like, I think David Dressler said that he was booked before the election happened. That's how early they had him. So,
because I'm on those Thursday calls.
Yeah.
I have been for the last year.
Yeah.
I don't remember him being booked that far back.
Okay.
But I do remember, him being booked. It was long before the political embroglio. He might have been up for nomination or just nominated at the time, and everybody thought, well, this is going to be good. It's going to be a fast track. He'll become NASA administrator, and everybody's jumping up and down.
Right. Yeah.
And so we were all afraid that he was going to cancel because of what happened, and to go through with it and do what he did. It just says boatloads about his character.
Yeah.
And I let him know that when I shook his hand.
Yeah.
And I said, I think we all missed an opportunity, but then again, sir, I think you may have dodged a bullet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And he looks at me right in the eye and says, you're not the first person who's told me that.
Morty, who was there, hey, shout out to Morty. Thanks for being there.
Yeah, hey, Morty.
Morty was there. He is given the inside track saying that the questions were approved beforehand. So yeah. I 100% believe that's true. Yeah.
So let's move on. I think obviously for us, for this show, the primary thing that we probably want to at least talk about for a few minutes is the fact that we did a live show.
Yeah, well, we did
a live 2-hour show.
I want to stick with Isaacman for just one more moment there.
Okay.
I said this on the live show, and now I've seen him in person. I've had time to reflect. I really want to stress this is a problem. You have this situation where, honestly, no sane person is going to want to take this job.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was a lot of chit chat about that.
Yeah. I said this to the reporter here, Jeff. I said this to Dr. Faust. Most people don't realize he's a PhD in physics, by the way. Super impressive guy. I said this to Dr. Faust that he's the only guy that blue and red would support, and then Faust responded, blue doesn't have to support him, so that's just a blanket. That's not necessary. It's just nice to have. And then we got into talking about Bridenstine, and everybody was up in arms. All the blues were up in arms against Bridenstine, and he turned out to be great. So when Jeff and I were talking, I'm like, who possibly would take this job right now? Who would want it? Who could get agreement from the Senate? And so I think that leaves NASA rudderless and leaderless.
Yeah.
For, I'm going to make up numbers because nobody really knows, but I think that's rudderless and leaderless for a year, year and a half. And in the midst of draconian cuts to this program that we all love, there's no champion who's going to go to Congress and push back against this.
Yeah,
so I don't know what's going to happen. Can you imagine? Okay, so now we've gone from 24 billion to 18 billion. Nobody to defend it, nobody to argue against it. What happens next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that? A rudderless, leaderless NASA that cannot defend itself is in really big trouble.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And everybody raised that question. Everybody we talked to, just in casual conversation, they all said the same thing. Well, if he can't get the job, who's going to want it?
Right.
Who's going to want to go out there and take it?
Yeah.
It's and we just still didn't know after the conference was over. We didn't know. So we'll just we'll wait and see along with everybody else.
Yep. Yep.
And we'll have a lot to say right here on this program.
That's very channel.
That's it right here. After this word from our sponsor. We don't have a sponsor yet, but
well, we have the Senate.
We'll get there.
Senator's a great sponsor. We love the Senate.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want to talk about next? You want to? I'm taking the news off, and we're just going to chat with you and I.
Yep. I think what's going to happen because it's 8:30 now. So let's just go the rest about the conference and what the fun we had. I mentioned in my intro the term PTSD, and that definitely happened with the podcast, the live podcast that we did. We'd never done this before.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing was kind of haphazard and overpriced because all we could do at such a last minute like that was make up a unique flyer and put it in everybody's conference packet and hope they read the flyer.
Yep.
And we got, I don't know, 17, 20 people in there or something like that.
We got good. I mean, it was a small room, but it was a mostly packed room. Most of the chairs were taken. That's kind of normal at an event like this. So really all we could do is cross our fingers. I'm gonna apologize publicly. I was against it. I told you I was against it. I thought it was a terrible idea. You were right. It was a good idea. So nice job.
Well, interestingly, the people, I mean, it's a 2-hour show. We never did a 2-hour show before either, let alone live in front of an audience.
Right.
That could have blown up in our faces big time. And remember, we had plan A, plan B, plan C, depending on audience reaction.
Yep.
I mean, nobody shows up and we're except a couple of people, and then, okay, we're reading the news, or a crap ton of people show up and they're all unruly.
Right.
I was trying to make up, what do we do for every possible scenario that we could do? We had technical glitches right up almost to the moment we went live. Because especially as too many microphones were interfering with each other or getting all this interference going, why? Oh God.
It was pretty fun. It was tense in the beginning. Then I think we got our stride pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
Like we had a few news items as fillers. I thought that was cool. But I really loved that. I don't know. I wasn't counting. Didn't sit there with a clicker or something. But we had a lot of rotated guests through. We had Dressler and Sherry Bell, and we had a bunch of folks from the Isaac Arthur. That's always great. We had a bunch of folks that are the movers and shakers from the conference.
Right. And they were invited in advance.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point of the show. And about half of them showed up.
Yeah.
And so we had all those people, including all the people who were presenting at our business track the next day.
Right. Yep.
And I said they want to show up because I want them to come in and give a little tease of what they're going to talk about tomorrow. We want to do a little naked self-promotion. I got a whole day business track.
Right.
I'm competing with Mars.
Yep.
And so, I want to get some people in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them showed up, and they were all great. You know, I mean, Joe Luttrell, he's always a fantastic guest anyway. He just steps up.
Yeah.
Um,
Some of the things I liked were kind of the surprises. Like there were people in the room that didn't know, so that was great. There was there were a pair of attorneys. Both of them really push property rights. I was especially impressed. I think her name is Charisma, something like that. Simmons. Last name is Simmons. Kamisha, yeah. I was particularly impressed by her. She was articulate. She believes what I believe, right? That property rights are important, and we're going to have to figure this stuff out. I was definitely impressed by her. And Dennis Wright, Dr. Wright, he's a guy who's usually in the background, doesn't really, he knows his stuff. He's a space elevator guy. And everybody who watches this show knows I'm not committed to the Earth elevator the way I used to be. Lunar elevator, yes. But I really respect this guy. He is super smart. He knows his stuff. And he's really kind of soft-spoken, usually in the background. He's hardly ever up on screen. I've never had him on screen before.
Yeah.
He's hardly ever up on stage. But, man, that guy, he knows his stuff. He's really good at it. And now I'm like, oh, we should have a guy like that around more often. Right?
Yeah.
So those two surprised me. A lot of the stuff I was planning and we expected, we wanted them, but that surprised me for sure.
Yeah. I guess Sean's telling us in the private chat that Kamisha is actually going to be a guest on this program in the near future. She's already agreed to be on the show, so that's going to be a wild evening.
I think we probably got 8 or 10 guests for the show just from hosting that event. I think it's great.
Yeah. But it was a fun event, but my God, I mean, again, we're doing everything on the fly. We didn't know what was going to happen, who's going to talk and who wasn't, or we'd say something silly and there'd be like dead silence in the room. No, everybody responded really well and they engaged really well and they stayed for the whole 2 hours.
The whole thing, right? It was, and honestly, we probably could have kept going because there was stuff. We turned down 2 guests. Rick Tomlinson got there 2 minutes after we closed. So sorry about that, but he was standing at the door. And Dr. Chris Morrison got there just about 5 minutes before we closed down, but we already had a guest in the hot seat. So Morrison is a nuke guy, a space nukes guy. And I really wanted to talk to him about what they're doing. So that was kind of a missed opportunity. We absolutely could have kept going. We had guests outside the door waiting to come on, but that was our time. So
we were actually. I know, and that's so weird. We go through this whole thing. How are we going to fill 2 hours? Right. The next thing you know, there's a bunch of people standing out there, and I'm sorry, folks, we're out of time.
Sorry, folks, we're out of time. What did you think about Brian Versteeg? Did you know him before?
I haven't known him before, but he's an interesting fella. So, I can't wait to hear from him again. The guy that surprised me was actually a known quantity for us, Pascal Lee. He didn't think he was going to be able to show up at all, and then he shows up and he grabs the mic and he spoke for a long time, and everybody was just wrapped with what he had to say about stuff.
I was talking to Sean about him just a couple hours ago. I'm not going to say that he changed my mind on tourism, but I have been on record as a skeptic for space tourism for many, many years, and he put a chink in that armor. I haven't changed my mind, but I am open to maybe I've been too rigid about this. Space tourism. He had an argument I had not heard before, and it was solid. So thanks to Dr. Lee for that, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Brian Versteeg won an award that night. I've been a fan of his art for years. I've got a signed image from him, and I think the space community is so bad at promoting itself and telling its own story.
But he's such a dynamic guy.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I mean, that's not normally a topic for this show, but I might make an exception for him.
No. He's trying to raise $250,000. He's definitely a topic for this show.
Okay.
I'm already working that angle. He's got a real business. I watched one of his presentations. I wanted to go see what he had to say, like full form.
Yeah.
Fantastic imagery, but a real business behind it.
Yeah, that's the important part.
Basically, a Mars simulation game.
Yeah, and nobody thinks in those terms of stuff like that. I mean, you go to the Space Tourism Conference and you see the models that people make of potential architectural habitats. Because the guy running it's an architect, and he's been showing this stuff for years. Yeah. Come see my etchings, over here. And he's a great guy, but I just like to just tease the hell out of him. But so that's what you usually see. You usually think none of this stuff's going to make any money, and here's a guy who's getting it done.
Yeah.
And so he needs to be profiled. Absolutely. Anything else on the podcast? I mean, I was exhausted afterward. I was like just sweat. I woke up the next morning, like every muscle was stiff. I just couldn't, it's like the Irish arthritis. It's like every joint stiff but one, right? And so I guess I can say this is an adult show. I can say that. But I went to the chiropractor this morning. I had my weekly, adjustment, right? And the guy was like all over going, "What did you do?
What did you do?
A week ago, you were perfect."
I am going.
I was like, "You're all stiff. My God!"
I spent 2 hours in the dock with my knee today, and I'm going to the chiropractor tomorrow, and I start physical therapy next week. Yeah, my shoulders are on fire right now.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's tense, right? Like you and me, we're like old buddies, bicker like an old couple, right? Like we got that, right? But
yeah.
But that live thing, it was tense, right? There's a lot going on. I even with my knee, even being careful with my knee, I booked 12 miles of walking. 12 miles.
That's a lot.
With a brace on over that counts the day before and the day after, so a little bit more. But yeah, I was pretty surprised. But it's tense. That was a tense event, those 2 hours. Yeah, I'm glad we did. I thought it turned
absolutely out great. And again, I'm hoping I've been, and maybe it's like, because sometimes I think I think of women when they have kids, it's like it's so painful, but after a while they forget the immediate trauma.
And then when are we going to do this again?
Why don't we do this again? And so I've been thinking the same thing, yesterday. Well, we went through all this tribulation to get this thing done, and we were complete wrecks when it was over. But maybe if they want us to do it next year,
let's
we'd actually get it in the program.
Let's tell everybody to watch the show from last week on Monday. We only have 15 minutes to cover the rest of the event, so let's look at the event. What are some really important things that came out of that for you? Like, where were you? We were not in the same tracks. You ran the business track. I was at the business track for part of it, but I'm bouncing. I'm bouncing all over the place.
You got to bounce a lot more than I did. I didn't get to bounce much until Saturday and part of Sunday. I didn't stay the whole day Sunday. I was after lunch. I was like, okay, it's enough. Right. And although I love some of the moon stuff that was going on, because I think Hoyt Davidson was dominating that moon track yesterday. He was like on everything. Before lunch, he was on some panel on the main stage. The guy was everywhere. He got an award, Saturday, Friday night or Saturday. It's like, okay, So it was the Hoyt Davidson week in a lot of these different tracks and presentations, which I'm glad to see. He's always kind of such a quiet guy, and now it's like, boom, he's everywhere. And I love that part. So that's a takeaway for me. He's getting on the map, and I hope he stays there. He's really, really good. Um, a business track. What can I say, man? I think the weirdest thing, the most interesting thing I saw was actually at the very end. The last guy. It's at the end. It's at the end of the day. It's the 5:30, presentation, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, we've managed to make it through all this, and we'll get this guy, and he was a really good young guy, and he had all sorts of wild ideas about property rights stuff. And he was very vehement about them, which stirred up the two attorneys in the back of the room, and that got everybody else raising their hands and debating everything. He only presented for 15 minutes, and then we argued and threw things for another 15 minutes, and we were so pumped up, full of adrenaline by the end of it, we were walking out of that room with a third wind. It was amazing, yeah, and so everybody was thrilled. Yeah, I'm glad I came here today.
All right.
All
right.
So that was great, but as always, Joe Luttrell did a really great presentation. He brought lots of visual aids with him. He's got like working models of all his stuff, and he's showing it to everybody. Laura Forzik actually led off pretty well. She was talking about what the opportunities are right here in Florida, and she wanted, so it was kind of a boost for Florida space entrepreneurship and the community, and so it's a great way to start. And folks in between, we had a great panel right after lunch. Did you see any of that?
The panel after lunch? No.
No, that was a panel about the opportunities in other countries, abroad.
Yeah. I did watch that.
Because it was Josh White, who was amazing, and Aaron Ratner, who was pretty good. I never met those guys before. Yeah. And of course, another known quantity, Rich Godwin, was there, and he held his own pretty damn well. Yeah. And got a lot of good questions, and it was a very spirited discussion, and I was very happy about that.
One thing I really got out of that was, really know who you're negotiating with, right?
Yep.
What do they want? What are the win requirements for them? Because it's not always money. Sometimes it's jobs. Sometimes it's prestige. Sure. Sometimes it's, and that my myopic American perspective, I think I lose track of that. And when companies are trying to raise money, when they're trying to sell something, when they're trying to go to the Paris Air Show, maybe it's a really good idea to think about what the other person on the other side of the table is really trying to get to. That was my big takeaway. There was more to it than that.
But that was a big takeaway because it also ties into cultural cues.
Yeah.
They come from a different world than you do, and they don't think the same way. And so you got to kind of guess what they're doing. I gave a little intro into how Russians really drink, and so that was something. If I don't look, you got to really watch them carefully how they do it. Everybody thinks, we punctuate our business deals with vodka, and they're just sloshing it down the whole time. This is not so.
Right.
This is a myth. And if you want to keep up with them, you got to watch carefully how they do it,
right?
And then you will actually.
What else was interesting? I'll tell you one funny moment. I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Saturday night, they have this silent auction, and there's hundreds of books. And most people don't know this about me. I like my books. I have lots of books. I'm very aspirational. I have books that I'll never read, but I'm just proud that they're on my bookshelf. But I also have a really strong collection of first editions, author signed books. I've got a pretty extensive collection of Gallows books, unredacted proofs. I probably have 50 or 70 really special high-value books.
Okay.
And so when they got the auction, I went straight to the auction right away because the Heinlein Trust, Robert Austin Dula and his family run the trust. They put out a lot of books. It wasn't everything, but it was probably 50 or 60 books, and most of them were the private collection of Robert Heinlein. I am a gigantic Heinlein fan.
Yeah.
Because of the space elevator, everybody assumes that I'm a Clarke fan, an Arthur C. Clarke fan.
Yeah.
I am, but I'm a fan of Heinlein. So
Yeah,
I'm like in there scribbling my name,
Oh yeah.
like a bunch of these things. And what do you guess? Martine Rothblatt is the first person on the list, and I'm the second person. So I'm like, okay. So for people that don't know, Martine Rothblatt is a billionaire who built Sirius XM and a bunch of other stuff. And so she's a legit billionaire. And so here I am like, well, I'm going to outbid a billionaire once. And I did that 3 times on 3 different books. I didn't win those. I did win some stuff I really, really liked.
Good.
Yeah, but that was fun. That was kind of one of those like moments that you wouldn't expect.
I'm like you with books. I'm surrounded by them in my home office up here. You see a few right behind me.
Yeah.
That's just scratching the surface.
Yep.
You don't see all the other shelves that are going on.
Yep.
And the ones in front of me that are above my head right here. That's why I can't put in that ring light. It won't fit.
Right.
The shelf's too low.
Yeah. Nah, I thought that was one of those like unique. It only happens at ISDC moments. And we're big fans of the Dula family and the Heinlein Foundation and the Trust.
Well,
so just shout out to them. I thought that was really cool. I had no idea that they were coming and bringing stuff. If I had known that, I might have stuck around and like there's things I would have bid on the spot for. Like I will just take that. What's it cost?
Yeah, right. Sure. But I had some great conversations with Austin Dula there.
Yeah, right.
Just to say for that, well, I think we're going to benefit the center in the long run. We used to have a great relationship with Heinlein Prize Trust for sponsoring stuff for a very long time.
Yeah.
And that kind of drifted away after COVID.
Yep.
And we're trying to reestablish that. And Austin is the next generation of Heinlein Prize Trust. He's inheriting it all, and he wants to do some good things. And I put some stuff on the table for him. And so I think it's going to be a nice conversation, maybe later this week. And so it's not a matter of if or even when, but how much.
Awesome.
At this point. So that's why I'm hoping, and we'll make that happen. And I should mention that, speaking of that, I mean, this thing out of the blue, we've had some support come in. I got home Sunday, I saw something in the mail, and it was from a donor I wasn't expecting, and that's going to keep the lights on around here for a while. So I don't mention the name because I've never gotten permission to use the name. One of these days, I'm sure we will. But thank you.
Thank you.
Again,
appreciate it. Absolutely. That's let's call it what it is. That's 2 and 3 weeks. So
yeah.
that's always great to have that level of support. We definitely want some more. I know you were trying to shake the trees. If anybody's feeling generous, just reminding you in the top left-hand corner, there's a QR code. That's the kind of stuff that keeps the lights on. It's real.
Yeah. But there's I'm up with some good folks that I'm talking to about a lot of different initiatives right now. So it was as far as wearing my center hat.
Yeah.
This was a great week. One of the better ones in years.
Yeah.
So in a big way. So.
All right, we got 7 more minutes. We got to be a little bit cognizant there. What other like standout moments? For me, the spaceports and the moon tracks. Those were priorities for me. I was inches from Greg Autry, and I was feet from Dr. Greg Autry has been nominated to be CFO of NASA. I was dying to talk to him, but via email exchanges, it's been really clear that he doesn't want to have those conversations right now. So my curiosity was there, but I didn't tackle him and say what's going on, because I want to know, but I don't.
Yeah, I didn't know Greg Autry was there. We
He
just moved in different circles all for 5 days.
he wasn't there for 5 days. He was there
No.
for 4 hours, and that
Okay.
was it. Because I was like, I was going to talk to him later in the day, and I just never saw him again. Tomlinson, same story. He was there for the first couple of hours, and then he was gone until the last couple of hours. Dr. Paul Jaffe was somebody else I wanted to talk to. I was feet away from him. He was only there for 3 hours, and then he was gone. So that's one of the things. That's one of the lessons, right? If you see somebody you want to talk to them.
Yeah.
I missed Jim Green, Dr. Green. So there were people that were in the building. I saw them, but politeness made me wait.
Yeah. That was interesting. You mentioned Dr. Green because he sat at my dinner table twice. I was having all sorts of conversations with him.
Oh my God!
And then one day, I only signed him for 4 meals, right? One of them, for no reason at all. I come in there and Leah comes up to me and says, "Tom, you're at the one of the preferred tables today," and my name was on it. I was on the cool kids table. Well, who was there? Isaac, Arthur.
Yeah.
Hoyt Davidson, Joe Haldeman,
nice.
who got the award.
Yep.
So he was sitting. He and his wife are sitting there, lovely people.
Nice.
I love, of course, Strickland.
Wow,
one of the Strickland brothers. Of course.
Yep. I love the dinners. Every single dinner was sold out for me. Everything that I was interested in. That was actually a little bit frustrating. It's my own fault. Remember how this whole thing transpired 2 months ago? I was a lock. I was absolutely going to go. I got injured. I wasn't going to go. Last minute, I did go. So by the time I got there and asked for tickets, there was nothing. So it's okay. But I love the dinners. You never know who you're going to meet. I had dinner with Jim Green in 2008, and I still remember that dinner.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, he's
great. Yeah, so
pretty amazing.
I'm envious that you got to have 2 chats with him. I want him on my team. I'm just going to be candid. Like, I want that guy on my team. So,
right.
It's aspirational, but I'm going to try. Right.
I only have a couple of minutes. I did mention in my intro there was in fact one casualty.
What's the casualty? I wasn't really sure what you meant by that.
The casualty. Well, no, you think a casualty, you think, somebody died. No, the casualty was our poor producer Sean. His car died.
Right.
Friday night.
Right. Yeah, that is kind of a drag. I want to do a shout out to Sean because we got to see Sean for the first time ever. This mysterious persona that we rely upon. He was on the live show, right? And he actually got on camera for a minute, which never happens. So shout out to you, buddy.
Well, he has some great things to say too. We actually came up and say, I got to say something about this topic, and he was so long-winded and forceful and eloquent. Everybody loved it.
Yeah,
they ate it up.
Yep.
Sean speaks. It was a big moment, and so I'm glad that happened. That was really thrilling, and and we got to get to know each other a little bit because he lives right down the road from me, but we never actually been in the same room.
You guys should go and have a beer. I've been saying that for a while.
We did that.
Yeah.
We did that evening, and so
one thing I'm going to say is kind of my closing here. I haven't been on the road in the space elevator guy persona in a long time. It might have been 2017 or 18 was the last time I put on my space elevator armor, right? Like and start doing the work. I've done more in 6 months than I have in the prior 6 years. It was great to be out on stage talking about this thing that I love. And I'm going to count ISDC as a marker for like, this is when it really started again. So I was so glad I was there. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you did too. It's good. It's good to see.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're out of time. But Thursday, June 26th, we'll be featuring Charles Lurio, who's been the author of the Lurio Report subscription service for many, many years, almost as long as David Livingston.
Yeah.
And we're going to be, he's from MIT, and we're going to discuss the history of that publication. And hopefully he's going to clue us in on how he always seems to get the inside track on so much interesting stuff. I mean, if you want to get a history lesson of how New Space was born, just read his newsletters going back 20 years, and you'll get it all. That should be a book. Maybe we'll talk about that with him.
Yeah.
And on that,
seriously,
yeah,
good idea, Sean.
I think it is a good idea.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, I'm Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies. Good night, Vanessa.